Chobraje Tham Jegi So Jepe Manam Kada Nyampe Senjen Tam Je Dewa Dan Den Dunya Dande Nerdu Lana Me Baya Dapar Sobe Chanju Rinpoche Topar Jade Jade Sama Geki Bardu Lunga Yisun Gewa Lako Mashi Bardu Lunga Yisun Gewa Lako Du Dering Ne Sunde Ne Matsan Da Samgi Bardu Lunga Yisun Gewa Lako Zonju Jodan Soki Jonam Chanju Bardu Dani Kyapsu Chi Dagi Jinso Gipe Sonam Ji Drola Penchir Sange Tuprasho Manam Kadan Yampe Senchen Tamche Dewadan Dewe Gyundan Dempar Gyurchi Dungyao Dan Dungyao Ki Gyudan Drawa Gyurchi Dungyao Mepe Dewa Dami Drawa Gyurchi Niring Chada Nidan Drawe Kanyang Lan Nepar Gyurchi. Page 1 of the Amitayus practice, beginning with the short lineage prayer. For this, we will begin the lineage prayer, first in Tibetan. Then, those of us who are using the English channel, we will chant in English. And those of you who are using the Spanish channel should continue in Spanish. Jinla Gundu Sagyu Lama Dang Du Chosun Chumden Se La Mitun Chumse Kandu Chokyong La Sechi Dongwe Yiki Sotena Tuje Daso Kakya Luchen Kun Chinme Gompang Sala Gogyurju to you, root and lineage gurus, embodiment of all blessings, you, Bhagavan, deity of life, who bestows the supreme siddhi, you, Dakinis and Dharmapalas, who destroy discordant conditions, supplicate with single-pointed longing through your compassion. May embodied beings pervading all of space be raised to the deathless state. And so here, even though we say it's the short lineage prayer, in fact, it's actually praying, supplicating the three roots. So the three roots, the root of all blessings is the root and lineage gurus. So it says embodiment of all blessings. And the root of all siddhis, the root of all accomplishments, is the Idam deity. And in this case, the Idam deity is Amitayus, here called the Bhagavan deity of life. Then the root of all activities, exalted, awakened activities, activities that are beneficial to beings. And in other words, They are the Dakinis and Dharmapalas. So in particular here, the activity of removing conditions that are opposed to that which supports Dharma practice. So these are the three roots. The three roots is Vajrayana vocabulary for essentially what in non-Vajrayana is the three jewels or the three refuges. In non-Vajrayana context, the three jewels or the three refuges, meaning common to all traditions of Buddhist practice, to all levels of Buddhist practice. We take refuge in Buddha, we take refuge in Dharma, we take refuge in Sangha. So Buddha then is the outer aspect of refuge. Guru is the inner aspect of refuge. Dharma is the outer aspect of refuge, outer aspect, and idam is the inner aspect. The noble Sangha is the outer aspect of refuge, and the Dakinis, Dharmapalas, they are the inner aspect of refuge. So it's not the case, even though sometimes there are some recitations called the 6 refuges. We should not think, somehow Vajrayana practitioners have 3 over here, then plus 3 over here, then plus 3 over there. They are aspects of the same point. So then when we say that they are outer and inner, there are, different meanings as well. Not different meanings as in you choose one, but different as in there are layers of meaning. So one layer would be, especially these days, where different Buddhist communities are connected to each other, whether socially or even, you may enjoy going to different Buddhist communities to practice with them. Then particularly, I think in this context, when we are with other Buddhist practitioners who don't have this notion of 3 roots, then we should not blabber away about the 3 roots, because it's inner. In that sense, it's private. It's only for your own practice. You don't blabber away, my guru is the actual Buddha refuge, and then Dharma, we have yidams, and that's all just stirring up obstacles for no reason, and also creating negative impressions in others. It also shows, more importantly, we don't understand what the 3 roots are. The 3 roots are no different from the 3 jewels, just context. On one level, just context. On another level, it is a more private in the sense of directly kind of working with these 3 principles of Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, but closer, more private in the sense of closer to us. So now Buddha is not just an abstract of an awakened being, a historical awakened being from 2,600 years ago. Buddha is no longer even just a concept, but we have a reference point for what Buddha is, which is the Dharma source that we ourselves, here's the important point, we ourselves have decided, I'm going to adopt and I'm going to relate to this person as an embodiment of that goal, that ideal, that principle that I'm striving towards. Now that is often, these days, when we talk like that, that is often we think of as a specific person, even living, talking, contactable person. Great if you have someone like that. If you don't have someone like that, also you should not think, oh, I don't have guru. There's a way to relate to that figure that came, taught, was alive 2,600 years ago, the Buddha Shakyamuni, as a guru. In many sutras, Buddha Shakyamuni says, for those who understand, for those who know, I will always be teaching here in this world. I will always be present at Vulture Peak, which is where he talked about him always being present. And he was teaching at this place in India, Vulture Peak. It also doesn't mean you go, oh, well, he's here, but then he's over in Vulture Peak. I have to fly over there to look for him. Not so literally, but in, for example, the Lotus Sutra, chapter 16, I think, Buddha Shakyamuni says, even as this kalpa has exhausted itself, and this physical universe is being destroyed, starting with fire and then wind and then water. Even as that is happening, I will always be present at Vulture Peak, teaching to an assembly of disciples. And so if you don't yet have or have no plans to think of a human person, such as His Holiness the Dalai Lama or someone like that, that in your mind has no more doubts that Buddhahood is real, and this person has shown me that it is real, then Buddha Shakyamuni is available. Then, of course, many other such figures, among Tibetans, Bhutanese, they are very intimate. Many of them feel very closely connected. Sometimes, not sometimes, bluntly, more closely connected than they feel to maybe Buddha Shakyamuni. It's fine. This is not a popularity contest. But Guru Rinpoche, so many Tibetans, Bhutanese, feel very close. So then that is the root guru for them. So whoever it is that serves, basically, it is about taking refuge in Buddha, relying on Buddha for Kyabdro in Tibetan. Kyabdro is like going for refuge, and we translate as just refuge, Kyab, protection, going for protection. It also has a connotation of providing safe direction. When we say we take refuge in Buddha Dharma Sangha, it means we say we go to you for safe direction. Please direct it. Please direct us the right way, the safe way. Safe way, right way, safe way, right way, out of confusion, out of afflictive emotions, out of suffering. When idam is said to be the inner dharma, this is also a very important point. Because if we only have the outer superficial aspects of idam, then, not surprisingly, other Buddhist traditions who don't have this notion of idam, if they are watching us, to see what we do with this idam, it's not surprising if they go, what? It's like some god they're praying to. Because superficially, idam seems like that. But idam is the inner dharma. So, what do? We don't worship idam. But in the sadhana, we make offerings, we make praises, yeah? Those are using religious forms, religious expression, religious sentiment in order to enter the Dharma. So here we might be useful to draw a distinction between, I've said this many times, this distinction between Buddhism and Buddha Dharma. Buddhism, is it a religion? Yes, of course it is. Why not? Buddhism. Buddha Dharma is not religion. Buddha Dharma is what Buddha Shakyamuni taught. We take refuge in Buddha Dharma. We don't take refuge in Buddhism. Buddhism changes. Wherever the Buddha Dharma goes, and when the Buddha Dharma interacts with local culture, local religion, local politics, local economics, local whatever, from there arises a particular type of Buddhism. In that sense, there is a plurality of Buddhism, Buddhisms in the plural. Buddha Dharma is only one. One with 84,000 aspects. One Buddha Dharma, 84,000 aspects. And many Buddhisms, and as many Buddhisms as there are people who practice Buddhism. In that sense. Even though you say, I practice Tibetan Buddhism. No two Tibetan Buddhists practice the same thing. So there are 84,000 Buddhisms and more. No, Buddhists are only, less than 10% of 7-8 billion people. Depending on how you count. It's notoriously difficult to count Buddhists. But that's about Buddhists, Then those who practice Buddha Dharma is something else. So now, coming back to how idam is Dharma. So idam is Dharma means idam is what we accomplished. Just as we accomplish the Dharma. We don't worship the Dharma. Despite the seemingly, idams are like deities that we worship. We even use the word deity, deva in Sanskrit, ha in Tibetan, which literally means gods. Gods, deity, same word, ha in Tibetan. In Sanskrit, deva. Deva means light beings. Literally, the word deva means light beings. So those beings that are in the 6 desire realms, they are devas. But we also called, in Vajrayana, Buddhas, we also call deva. But there is devati deva in Sanskrit. That means the god of gods. This doesn't mean, the super god. This means, because God, the basic connotation is light being. So the light among lights. So we say the true light of awakened light. That's the true light. And so of course then Buddhas are the gods among gods. They are the one with the true brilliance, true light of enlightenment, of freedom from confusion. So when we take refuge in idam, when we take refuge in this case in Amitayus, we do not relate to Amitayus as some god out there. That if we say his mantra enough times, if we make enough offerings to him, if we pray to him enough, magically he gives you a long life. Magically he gives you longevity. No. This practice of Amitayus is a way to get our body, speech, and mind to come into alignment, for us to begin to restore our life force, our life vitality. And so, just as general Dharma practice, idam practice, you have to do the work. You have to actualize. So, encoded then into the idam symbolism, for example, are many points related to Dharma practice, as understood by all other Buddhist traditions. Like those basic fundamentals is what we have to cultivate. So when we have, this is what it means when we say, in Tibetan Buddhism, we practice the three levels, the three yanas, all as a single complete way. It cannot be that you just think, oh, I'm just going to do Vajrayana, and then magically things will just come together. It doesn't work like that. Elsewhere I talked about this. That you need to convince yourself you are Amitayus can only work if the two conditions you know how to put in place. And again, these conditions are not conditions that you accidentally run into. These are conditions that you have to bring together. What are the two conditions? One, your fixation on who you are, what you are, all of that, you need to loosen up. You need to loosen up. You need to even eventually relinquish. As long as you are still tightly holding on to who you are, what you are, which in another context we would say, confused projection. Confused projection. As long as we are committed to our particular set of confused projections of I, and then me, and then mine, no amount of visualizing you are this Buddha or that Buddha is going to help. Second aspect is, if you want deity practice to be effective, you also need to work on, provide the condition of body, speech, and mind. Need to be, as we read in one text recently in our daily Dharma study group, Kyopa Jigten Sungren says, and the way it's translated as, if in body, speech, and mind you are without regrets, then your idam practice will work. And there he says, what does it mean? Body, speech, and mind without regrets? He says, no 10 non-virtues and practicing the 10 virtues. As long as we are still involved with the 10 non-virtues, it's a little bit hard to convince yourself, oh, I am Buddha. If you can be convinced I am Buddha, and left and right, up and down, you're engaged in the 10 non-virtues, then probably you don't understand what a Buddha is. Then that's why they warn, if you don't know how to practice the idam, the idam will arise as demon. That means you have perverted what idam is. You have perverted what dharma is. Then dharma becomes poison. Kampopa warns us about that. He says even something as amazing, powerful as dharma can become corrupted, whereby then it turns poisonous. Then he says, when that happens, then it becomes quite hopeless. The very means of, the very means that we can use to become free from poison has turned into poison. Then the third one, the third root, dharmapalas or dakinis, they are the inner aspects of the noble sangha. The outer aspect of the noble sangha is the noble sangha, those who have gone before us, who have achieved the state of Arya, noble. That means they have already come face to face with the truth of selflessness. Here, selflessness is not the equivalent of altruism. Selflessness here is talking about lack of inherent existence of self. They are the noble sangha, they are the Arya sangha, and therefore the object of refuge. The ordinary sangha is not an object of refuge. The ordinary sangha is what we have here. Of course, we help each other, all of that, but not an object of refuge. The noble sangha as an object of refuge are referring to those beings who have practiced the dharma and arrived at the very least, having come face to face with at least a first recognition of the truth of selflessness. And so then they become sources of inspiration and sources of guidance for the rest of us. Stated in outer level terms, the noble sangha then are what we may typically think of as supportive, kindly individuals with wisdom, knowing how to help us. Dharmapalas and dakinis are going into a deeper level of support and help. Here, the support and help can come in the form of challenges and provocations, as well as calming things down, pacifying, but they can also stir up. So, it's speaking to how, that's why, many dharmapalas have very fearsome looking forms. A little bit intimidating. Again, superficially we think, they have that form in order to, scare away the things that cause us trouble. That's just a superficial understanding, The real understanding is the things that causes fear in you. Can you recognize that maybe these are the dakinis and the dharmapalas starting to support us by manifesting in those ways? So these are the three roots, which is the inner aspects of the three refuges. We cannot practice Amitayus without first really committing ourselves to working on blending with our minds, our hearts, the truth of impermanence. The truth of impermanence the reality of death following us like a shadow. You see, so that's why it's not what it looks like superficially. So much of this practice talks about, the deathless state, bringing back vitality, all of that. Yes, we should do that. But we cannot do that separate from the more basic point. The more basic point is everything is impermanent. We have to do this practice with, these 3 points being clear. Death is a certainty. When it will happen is uncertain. And when it happens, the only thing that matters is the quality of our mind. What kind of mind we have. The quality of our hearts, in other words. What is it like? With or without stains. With or without mental defilements. Because what arises next will be exactly according to what kind of mind exists for the next moment. That is the only thing that follows us. Of course, that thing can also be called your karma, all of that. The more basic point is whatever the quality of your mind, when you die, that is all that matters. Everything else that you have accumulated, including, these days, some more progressive parents might say things like, oh, I don't give my kids stuff. I give them experiences. Now that's maybe better than stuff, but even the experiences you give them, that doesn't go. And then depending on the basis of those experiences, what quality of mind, what quality of heart it brings to you. I saw the other day something about, I think on one level it sounds a little strange maybe, but the point, it should be a good point. It was a parent saying, instead of like asking my kids when they come back from work or when they come back from school, how did school go today? How was school today? Ask that question differently. Like, did you help anyone today? Did anyone need your help today? Something more, right? Kind of beginning to frame and change the mind, right? You had a good day? Not precise enough. Add a little bit more content to what this good is. Also, of course, you don't want to only, kind of like into this pop psychology of like every day needs to be happy. Everything in moderation. But yeah, So it's said that the Kadampa masters emphasize a lot at the end of each day to review the day as Dharma practitioners and say, has today been a good day? And then, of course, your definition of good is how much of the good heart turn up today, and how much of the good heart that turned up today I was able to share with someone else. That's how, So when we begin to kind of review our day along those lines, then we habituate an appreciation for the good heart. the warm-heartedness. How much of that? Then you say, oh, not much today. Maybe tomorrow it can increase. So that's how we begin to shape our minds. To begin to shape our minds like that. Then, when we hear teachings like the nature of your mind is like this, and like that, it's a completely different experience than just what we are intellectually hearing. I was reading this morning one long text in the Kadampa section of the 18 volumes of the transmission of the Dhammakzu. And in the text, quoting many great masters, this Lama was writing by quoting all different lineages. And one quote from Yangompa, one of these great masters, around 13th century, had both Gagyu and Nyingma Lamas as his teachers, and in turn became teachers for many Gagyu and Nyingma figures. Gyawa Yangompa, he said, even his time, he says, these days, nobody wants to hear anything about training in abandoning the 10 non-virtues and enjoying acting with the 10 virtues. Instead, everybody, he says, only wants to hear about emptiness, wants to hear about clarity, wants to hear about the great completion. And he says, it's the great corruption for the most part. He himself was teaching great completion, Dzogchen. But he says, nobody wants to hear about those other things. He says, those other teachings, the very fact that people don't want to hear them, proves the Buddha's point that those are the most profound teachings, he says. He says, what does profound mean? Profound means hard to accept, hard to understand. And he says, all these emptiness, the mind is clear, he says, everybody loves that. It's like, that's not profound. It's kind of turn it around, And he says, profound means hard to understand, hard to accept. And he says, see, this profound point, nobody wants to hear. They want to hear about Buddha nature, they want to hear about, things that make them feel good. He says, this is just great corruption. It's like, it's not the great seal, it's not the great completion. In the 13th century, he's saying this today. It's not saying, the teachings of the great completion and the teachings of the great perfection and the teachings of the great middle way isn't the teachings that we also need. But it's saying, until we get the basic view completely blended with our understanding, then all these other things are causes for straying away from the direct path of awakening, including a practice like summoning vitality, having long life, If we habituate that independent of this basic view, then we will be really afraid when finally vitality is gone. Finally body is failing you. Finally the aspects of mind that we're most familiar with is failing you. For example, memory. And that starts to fail you. You start to panic. I'm telling you from experience. But those are superficial aspects of mind. But we identify with that as me. Myself in particular, I pride myself in remembering. I never kept a diary. I never write things down. And it's so much part of like my identity. But now it's like, oh, I forgot this, oh, I forgot that. And those are superficial aspects of mind. Those are going to fail. And then body, for sure, is going to fail you. So this deathless state that we say here, at the end, through your compassion, may embodied beings pervading all of space be raised to the deathless state. There is the conventional deathless state, which speaks to healthy body and mind while we are still connected to this body and mind. So there is the relative aspect of Amitayus practice that is bringing together the necessary causes and conditions for a stable, healthy, and full of vitality of body and mind. Again, that's the relative aspect. That means it's temporary. So temporary here doesn't mean, no, don't do anything about it. No, because at the level that you and I are, this temporary body and mind, and the temporary body and mind being in a good place is still really important. And that's why in another context, right, the Buddha teaching the 16 stages of breath, that has to do with settling body and mind, the conventional aspects of body and mind, so that they are in a good place. And when they're in a good place, then we can tackle the question of impermanence, uncertainty, unsatisfactory. Then we can work on the understanding of their essence is the 5 Buddha families and the 5 Buddha wisdoms. And through that, we are raised to the ultimate deathless state. And that is when our self-identity is not tethered to this ordinary body and mind. Where our self-identity is based on the Buddha qualities. So in that way, Amitayus practice brings together, all Idam practice brings together these two aspects, the relative aspect and the ultimate aspect. Then, at the level of finally achieving the state of Amitayus, right? Then the relative aspect that appears the way it appears entirely for the benefit of others. Right now, the relative aspect that appears as Amitayus, for the most part, we are doing it so that our life becomes stable and our vitality remains strong. For the most part, we're cultivating this for ourselves. But that, again, needs to be latched with, anchored on, for the benefit of all beings. So if you succeed in having long life and vitality, and you use that long life and vitality to create negative karma, then long life and vitality is bad. It's not good for you and not good for anyone. Om Bhadra Saparana Kamom Swabhavashu Om Sarva Vedya Pura Pura Sura Sura Avataya Avataya Om. Now you can put with your right hand, pick the bell up and then move the vajra to the side of the bell. Now, all with your right hand. Now Vajra and bell awakened, activated. Ranze 밤에 드세 외투께서 번기 어기 저주 겨와 골체 제밤에기 남발등기 남가젠라 As Amitayus lights radiating from the seed syllable at the heart, inviting the victorious ones of the 10 directions and retinue, all in the form of Amitayus, to the space in front. Vajra Samaja Bema Asana Tishta Satan Hama Sarva Tathagata Saparivara Bandhanam Kunju sunla dakya chilipa mige sosor shatuwe kela jira samge changju yigi su samge chodan sochola changju pardu dakya chiran shendoni Rabdu chir chanchu semni ke bargi chanchu chogi semni ke gine semchen tamche dagi tundu nye chanchu chocho iwo che bargi drola penchir samge drubar I go for refuge, I confess each misdeed and non-virtue, and rejoice in the virtue of wandering beings. I will also be mindful of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in the Buddha Dharma and Supreme Assembly. I go for refuge until awakening is reached to fully accomplish the benefit of both self and other. I generate the awakening mind, having generated supreme awakened mind. I will serve all sentient beings and delightfully engage in the supreme deeds of the Bodhisattvas for the benefit of wandering beings. May I accomplish Buddhahood. Again, with your right hand, pick up the Vajra. Using your right hand again, pick up the bell. Give it to your left hand. Now we bless the 8 offerings. Om Bhadra Argam Ahom Om Bhadra Padyam Ahom Om Bhadra Pushpe Ahom Om Bhadra Dupe Ahom. Om Bhadra Aloke Ahom. Om Bhadra Gende Ahom. Om Bhadra Nivide Ahom. Om Bhadra Shabda Ahom. Tamchela Shingdu Kungi Drane Kiludu Beni Namkundu Choktu Depe Topargi. Oh, to all of you worthy of praise, I continuously bow with bodies countless as dust particles with supreme faith. So she nam rang la timpar guru, the assembly filled dissolves into you. So on page 7, it says in the English, on page 7, towards the bottom, third line up, you'll see the Dharma appears as a radiating light. So today we have the Dharma here. So we should visualize the Dharma turning into Amitayus, but also ourselves. So here, when we read this, when we chant this, we should say, the Dharma and yourself appear. The Dharma and yourself. Here and there, there is like, when it should say they, a typo. There's a couple of typos here. That is only the. Then there's another typo where a the should be there, it's not there. So let your body and mind settle into their own places. This expression of settling into their own places suggests, it's a reminder to us that we need to trust that naturally body and mind, if we get out of the way, if we don't fabricate, if we don't put in the artificial effort or resistance, either the push and the pull. If we know how to get out of the way, both body and mind can and will find their place of ease. When they are both at ease. And when body and mind is in this place of ease and satisfaction, then we have the conditions to begin to train the mind, train the body into more profound and subtle states of being. Steady the heart, pacify the highs and the lows, not get dragged around by either our afflictive emotions or conditions that arise. But in the midst of it all, you are present and you are not afflicted. Here spoken of in terms of being Amitayus, being the Buddha of limitless life. Limitless life, Amitayus, is limitless light, Amitabha, existing to benefit beings. Amitabha means limitless light. So that limitless light is the light of clear seeing, the light of insight, the light of wisdom. The mind unobscured, unobstructed, untainted. And this mind, this limitless light, this infinite wisdom appears, manifests as infinite life, the deathless life. Why? Now, in the form of deathlessness, of deathless life, we exist, we appear, in order to be able to benefit beings, to lead them out of confusion, to lead them out of this cycle of birth and death. Or, as we say in the sadhana, to establish them, to raise them to the deathless state. Om Swabhava Shuddha Sarva Dharma Swabhava Shuddhoham Dashender Zengi Topang Opo Zimba Tamche Tombar Nidu Gyur Dengang Le Naso Bemada Dawe Dendan Torma Igere Marbori Chatsen Jadan Chepale Utro Doni Jesurdu Prilatin De Yongsu Gyurpale Gombo Tseba Me Kundo Marbo Nangla Ranshi Me Pa Tsempe Gemba Xiaoqi Jia Ba. The conceptualities of grasping at self and other, holding things as real, all this becomes emptiness. stayed on a multicolored lotus and moon seas. The Torma and you appear as a radiating lights, accomplishing the two benefits. The lights return to the Three, which transforms into protector Amitayus, red in complexion, appearing yet without inherent existence. He has all the major and minor marks, has one face and two arms. Utrarel pechu penchen rinpoche naso pe ugyen yen gugen dosha chatu shabdu la sopa o truwe zepa darna tsuki tuyo da meyo che Chani nyam shagi tenna chilmetse dutsi kangwe bumpa kagyen gujingi treba nampa. He has long hair and wears a crown of various jewels, earrings, short and long necklaces, bracelets, anklets, and so forth. Radiant and handsome, he wears multicolored silks for upper and lower garments. His two hands are in the gesture of meditative equipoise, supporting a vase with a sprinkler and silk ribbons tied around the neck of the vase, filled with elixir of deathlessness. Now again with your right hand, pick up the vajra, pick up the bell, give to the left hand. Shabdo je gil mo trung gi su pe trewa om rinpa a tukar hong gi tsen ale otro pe kumpa dan drawe ye she pa chen ra. His legs are in Vajra position. At the head center is an Om, in the throat is an Ah, and in the heart is the home from which lights radiate, inviting the sattvas who appear in the form identical to the visualized form. Jahom ham ho nisu me partim layang tu ke sabon le otro pe wangi la ringa chen. Jahom ham ho, they dissolve inseparably. Then from the sea, syllable in the heart lights radiate, inviting the empowerment deities of the five families. Om Panchakula Saparivara Aryam Padyam Pushpe Drupe Aloke Gende Nevede Shakta Pratija. Om Sarva Tathagata Abhishinchantu Mam Shesova Tabe Wangile. Om Sarva Tathagata Abhishekata Bunte chu wangkur ku kandrima da chu lama le opa megi uge wang la na rang ni la tim argyur. Supplicate the empowerment deities with Om Sarva Tathagata Abhishinchatu Mam with Om Sarva Tathagata Abhishekata. Bestow empowerment with the water from the vase, purifying the body stains. The overflowing water turns into Amitabha, ornamenting the crown. The empowerment deities dissolve into you. Now you have to develop the sacred outlook, so to say, or the pure vision of yourself fully manifest as Amitayus. The Torma in front is Amitayus. You can think of the Torma Amitayus as your root guru, and yourself as Amitayus as well. And beyond that, all beings also appearing in the form of Amitayus. pointing to affirming their ultimate state of being Buddhas. All beings are Buddhas. Some realize it, most don't. When we do the 8 offerings and the praise, next, think of it as an offering and praise to all beings as Amitayus. Be happy or rejoice in this recognition and this ability to make offerings to all beings without exception. Infinite sentient beings are infinitely infinite life. Om Sarva Tathagata Ayunyana Saparivara Argyam Pratijasoha. Om Sarva Tathagata Ayunyana Saparivara Padyam Pratijasoha. Om Sarva Tathagata Ayunyana Saparivara Pushpe Pratijasoha. Om Sarva Tathagata Ayunyana Saparivara Dupe Pratijasoha. Om Sarva Tathagata Ayunyana Saparivara Aloke Pratijasoha. Om Sarva Tathagata Ayunyana Saparivara Gende Pratijasoha. Om Sarva Tathagata Ayunyana Saparivara Nevede Pratijasoha. Om Sarva Tathagata Ayunyana Saparivara Shabda Pratijasoha. Jitendembe tsowo tsepa me dumin jiwa malu jamzepe kome dumya girba namki kya sangye tsepa me la chase. Amitayus, chief guide of this world, destroyer of untimely death without exception, refuge for protectorless suffering beings, I pay homage to you, boundless life. Now bell, give to your right hand. Right hand place the bell down, then right hand place the vajra down. Tukardave usuri gitar naki korvale tro do we don je sam ge chang se nam ki chen la du ne nga treng sa bon dan che ba la tem par you. In the heart, in the center of a moon is a bowl surrounded by the mantra, radiating lights that benefit wandering beings and gathering the blessings of all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. They dissolve into the mantra garland and cease syllable. If you have already taken one home, you can loan one now. If you don't have one yet, these cards that Nathan made for us, then you can take with you after the practice if you like. So you can place the image of Amitayus in front of you and just let your gaze fall upon that. And as you look at the form, you kind of imprint that form onto your mind. Om Namo Bhagavate Aparimita Ayunyana Sumvinishchita Tejo Rajaya Tathāgataya Arahate Samya Sambuddhaya Teyata Om Punye Punye Maha Punye Aparimita punya jana sambaro pasite om sarva sanskara parishuddhe dharmate gagana sambhagate svabhava sushuddhe mahanaya parivare soha. Om namo bhagavate Aparimita Ayunyana Sumvinishchita Tejo Rajaya Tathāgataya Arahate Samya Sambuddhaya Teyata Om Punye Punye Maha Punye Aparimita punya jana sambaro achite om sarva sanskara parishuddhe dharmate gagana sambhogate svabhava vishuddhe mahanaya parivare soha. Om Namo Bhagavate Aparimita Ayurjana Sumvinishchita Tejo Rajaya Tathāgataya Arahate Samya Sambuddhaya Teyata Om Punye Punye Maha Punye aparimita punye aparimita punya jana sambaro pachite om sarva samskara parishuddhe dharmate gagana samugate swabhava vishuddhe mahanaya parivare soha om namo bhagavate aparimita ayujana suvinishchita tejo rajaya tathagataya arahate samya sambuddhaya teyata om punye punye maha punye aparimita punya jana sambaropachite om sarva samskara parishuddhe dharmate gagana samukate swabhava vishuddhe mahanaya parivare soha om namo bhagavate aparimita ayujana suvinishchita tejo rajaya tathagataya arahate samya sambuddhaya teyata om punye punye maha punye aparimita punya jana sambaropachite om sarva samskara parishuddhe dharmate gagana swabhagate swabhava vishuddhe mahanaya parivare soha om namo bhagavate aparimita ayujana suvinishchita tejo rajaya tathagataya arahate samya sambuddhaya teyata om punye maha punye aparimita punya jana sambaropachite om sarva samskara parishuddhe dharmate gagana swamukate swabhava vishuddhe mahanaya parivare soha om namo bhagavate aparimita ayujana suvinishchita tejo rajaya tathagataya arahate samya sambuddhaya teyata om punye maha punye aparimita punya jana sambaropachite om sarva samskara parishuddhe dharmate gagana samukate swabhava vishuddhe mahanaya parivare soha om namo bhagavate aparimita ayujana suvinishchita tejo rajaya tathagataya arahate samya sambuddhaya teyata om punye aparimita punya jana sambaropachite om sarva samskara parishuddhe dharmate gagana swamukate swabhava vishuddhe mahanaya parivare soha om namo bhagavate aparimita ayudhyana suvinishchita tejo rajaya tatagataya arahate sanyasam buddhaya teyata om punye punye mahapunye aparimita punya jnana sambaro pachite om sarva samskara parishuddhe dharmate gagana swamukate swabhava vishuddhe mahanaya parivare so. Amarani Zirvante Soha Om 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 Amarani Jivante 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 Soha, Om Amarani Jivante Soha, Om Amarani Jivante Soha, Om Amarani Jivante Soha. Om Amarani Jivante Soha, 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 Om Amarani Jivante Soha. Om Amarani Jivante Soha, 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 Om Amarane Javante 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 Soha, Om Amarane Javante, Om Amarane Javante Soha, Om Amarane Javante Soha, Om Amarane Javante, 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 Om Amarane Om Amarane Javante, 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 Om Amarane Om Amarane Javante Soha, Om Amarane Javante Soha, Om Amarane Javante Soha, Om Amarane Javante Soha. So as I have said before, mantras, essentially the power of mantras lie in the sounds of the mantra more than the meanings of the mantra, the sounds. How the sounds are put together, we say they are put together by Buddhas, awakened beings. So Amitayus then offers this Om Amarane Javante Soha to us. He gave us this chain of sounds. As he gives it to us as his presence, his form in the form of sounds. So not like your name and my name, your name, my name, we use that in order to talk about someone or to get someone's attention. Hey, Judy, So Judy and the person are not the same. But here, the sound and the form and the principle and the person, they're all the same. So whether we mentally conjure, so to say, or mentally bring their form to ourselves or to the space in front, Amitayus is present in that body of light. When we say Om Amarani Javante Soha, then every uttering of Om Amarani Javante Soha, that Amitayus is present in the form of sound. You could say vibrating in the form of sound. right? Even physical form is vibrations. The form of light is a more subtle vibration. So body like this, very dense vibration. So when our minds see this body of light form of Amitayus, then Amitayus is present. Then our speech, say the essence mantra that Amitayus offered us, then Amitayus is present as sound. Now, you could still sometimes identify some meanings. So Om is a sacred syllable, the sound. Hindus use it, Jains use it, Buddhists use it, Hindus of all types use it, but each tradition has its own understanding of what Om means. So Hindus will say that is the eternal sound. In the Buddhist context, we say the significance of Om is that Om has three parts to it. A-U-Um, A-U-Um, Okay? And A-U-Um is the awakened body, speech, and mind. So when we say Om, your understanding should not be, oh, this is the eternal sound, but rather primordially established, primordially so, is awakened body, speech, and mind. That is my nature, that is your nature, that is the nature of all beings. Buddhas are the ones who have realized this completely. Bodhisattvas are those who have realized this partially. Sentient beings are those who have no clue about this truth of Om. Amarani. Marani is death. The short A, Amarani. Short A, not long, okay? Amarani is the negation of death. So, deathless. Amarani, deathless. Marani is related to Mara. One type of Mara is Mara, the Lord of Death. Marani. So, Om Amarani. Jivantaye is derived from the word Jiva. Jiva means life. So, deathless life. Swaha is like, may it be so. Amen. The Indian Amen. May it be so. So, Om Amarani Jivantaya Swaha. Then in terms of verbal recitation, or recitation, it's said that there are four basic ways of reciting. The melodic way. So especially in Western Dharma centers, we like that. Kind of sing-song. But that melodic way in monastery, in traditional monastery, they use it especially during drupchans, during these great assembly of group practice. Over to qualify for drupchan, it has to be at least 5 days, and it has to be continuous around the clock. Otherwise, it's called a drupcha, accumulation of offerings, drupcha. But a drupchen is continuous around the clock, and people are divided into night shifts. You have the first 4 hours, you have the next 4 hours, and you have the next 4 hours. The worst is the middle. Sleep for 4 hours and get up 4, and then. But during a drupchen, you're not stuck, or you're not like, yeah, I'm in group 1 the whole 5 days. They rotate. the shifts. So your group, you start off with first night, you are the first shift, then you get your 8 hours, then next night you are the second shift, then it gets broken up, then third night. It gets easier because by day 3, you like, at the beginning it's kind of hard to sleep on command, but you'll be so exhausted by day 3. Then it's a 10-day drupchen, then it gets a lot easier. When it's moment opportunity to sleep, boom, sleep. So that's the one, melodic. The second recitation is actually called reciting like a hive of bees, buzzing. So that's the. So as a group, it's buzzing, 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 buzzing. That's the reciting like a hive of buzzing bees. Then there is Vajra recitation. And Vajra recitation is softer, also rapid, but it says that how soft is Vajra recitation? Enough for yourself to hear. You have to be able to hear yourself. That's Vajra recitation. And then there is the fourth one, mental recitation. So lips no more moving. You don't even hear with your ear, you hear with your mind. So you can use any of these 4 during the mantra recitation part. So these are the 4 ways to recite mantras. Om Amara Nizvanteya Soha, 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 Om Amara Nizvanteya Soha. Page 14, or whatever page it is, for the summoning of life force. So today we will just do this in English or Spanish accordingly. So we'll try to coordinate. I will pause after each section so that usually the chant in Spanish is a little longer. So I'll pause a little and wait for the rest of you. And then we go to the next and the next and the next. Okay? Clearly visualizing yourself as Amitayus from the seed syllable in your heart centers radiates limitless victors of the 5 families, holding bases and longevity arrows. So you can pick up again Vajra with your right hand, bell on the left hand, put on the left. Then if you have a dadar, you can pick up the dadar. So the way of waving the dadar is right now, these ribbons, this tassel is loosely. So then when it's the chant, we move. This is sort of to call in the vital energies. Then when we chant the mantra, at that time we do this, and this is to symbolize that all that vital energy is coming into the center. So this, now you can say, this bamboo is like your central channel. So this now, the vital energies come in. And then the next one, you call the next element. The vital energies of the next element.
So once it wraps up, you just go the other way to...
Slowly it will unfurl for the next part. At that point, don't visualize them running away from your central channel. The life forces from the essences of your own flesh, blood, heat, breath, and consciousness, elements that have been scattered, weakened, lost, damaged, dented, or collapsed, or which has been stolen or robbed by evil spirits and obstructors, together with earth, water, fire, air, and space, and the blessings of all Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Gurus, Idams, Dakinis, Dharmapalas, and the Vidyadharas, power over life, the powers of the lifespan, merit, splendor, life force, health, potency, luck, and sentient beings of the six realms. All these are summoned and dissolved into the longevity substances. In this case, dissolving into yourself. The longevity substances are the longevity pills and the longevity nectar or elixir. So remember that in your text here, the mantra, in the English translation, we didn't repeat it, but you should pick it up from the Tibetan, the last line in the Tibetan. And so the first one is Om Ratna Ayushe Hong Ja. Om, if through the element of flesh, the lifespan of me, a lord of yogis, has decreased, Bhagavan, Ratna Sambhava, male and female, summon lifespan from the earth element. Om Ratna Ayushe. Through the element of blood, the lifespan of me, a lord of yogis, has decreased. Bhagavan Akshobhya, male and female, summon lifespan from the water element. Om Bhadra. Through the element of heat, the lifespan of me, a lord of yogis, has decreased. Bhagavan Amitabha, male and female, summon lifespan from the fire element. Om of breath, the lifespan of me, a lord of yogis, has decreased. Bhagavan Amoga Siddhi, male and female, summon lifespan from the wind element. Om Karma Ayu. Om, if through the element of consciousness, the lifespan of me, Lord of yogis, has decreased. Bhagavan Vairocana, male and female, summon lifespan from the space element. Om Buddha. So for the next part, now you make sure that it's all wrapped around the central. Then you hold down so that they don't unravel. On this fortunate deathless Vajra, Vairochana's wheel seals exalted body, Amitabha's lotus seals exalted speech, Akshobhya Vajra seals exalted mind, Ratna Sambhava's jewel seals exalted qualities, Amoga Skrutis cross Vajra seals exalted activities, sealing in the unchanging and undefiled. Om Buddha Vajratna Karma Mudra Supadishta Raksha. Lifespan be indestructible like a Vajra. May it be lowered like the victory banner. May it be unchanging like the Yundra. May the supreme deathless Vajra exalted body. Page 26. This is the 8 offerings at the end. Om Ayugyana Saparibhara Argyam Patyam Pushpe Dupe Aloke Gende Nevede Shabda Pratija So. Amitayus, chief guide of this world, destroyer of untimely death without exception, refuge for protectorless suffering beings, I pay homage to for meager, incomplete offerings, for mistakes made through my ignorance, and for adding or omitting things. Protector, please forgive these mistakes. Amitayus, protector, may the virtue of this recitation and practice, may I and all wandering beings attain the supreme Vidyadhara level. Shri, may the auspiciousness of the root and lineage gurus who grant the supreme instructions of ripening and liberating, the auspiciousness of Amitayus Buddha, who grants the supreme attainments of the supreme and ordinary, the auspiciousness of the ocean of Samaya holders, dispel adversity. Chanchu sem chorin oje ma ge pa nam ge gyuchi ge pa nyam pa me pa yang bo ne gong du So next Saturday is the completion of this month-long Saturday practice of Amitayus. And we will complete this month's practice with the longevity empowerment. We will start at the same time. And it will end about the same time too. I think arrangement has been made to have the empowerment translated into Spanish as well. So those of you who can attend, if your centers are hosting the event, please go to the center. If you don't have a center around you that is doing that, then you can join in through Zoom. But for that, we ask people to register. Again, unless you're going to the center to participate, then perhaps no need to register. Of course, you can register too. I don't know if the link for the registration is. If somebody has it, put it in the Zoom chat for registering for next Saturday's Amitayus. Then when you register, we will send you the Zoom link, different from today's Zoom information. So if you are not joining a center, it's important that you register so that you will get the link. So that's it. Thank you so much. So at the temple, I want to say, there's always, set up work, take down work. That's the nature of practicing together. So if you can help, you're only helping yourself.